from our studio in Southern California, the hotbed of car culture, covering all things automotive. Welcome to In the Garage with Dennis. Here's your host, Dennis Pitzenbarger.
Welcome to the program. It is In the Garage. My name is Dennis Pitzenbarger. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We also want to make sure and thank our sponsors, both Craftsman and, of course, Royal Purple. And make sure if you get a chance to go to our website, inthegaragewithdennis.com. Now, if you're a traditional hot rodder, you're going to know my guest for today. Of course, H&H Flatheads. Mike Herman's going to come by and give you personal lessons on how to put together a Stromberg 97. I've been waiting to do this. I've already got a date set with him somewhere in the future, but he's going to let me come into his shop and let me build a flathead. But before I get to that, I am going to get a personal lesson, and so are you, on how to build a Stromberg 97. Once again, we do want to make sure that you know this show is brought to you by Craftsman and our friends at Royal Purple. Royal Purple's high-performance street motor oils recommended for vehicles no longer under manufacturer warranty and for those seeking a higher level of protection and performance. HPS outperforms leading synthetics and conventional lubricants for both diesel and gasoline engines and is fortified with a high level of zinc, phosphorus, anti-wear additives. And Royal Purple's proprietary Centerlink. Additive technology for maximum performance, improved protection, and of course, better efficiency. Now, if you get a chance, make sure and go to craftsman.com and become a Craftsman Club member. 18 million strong. It's a way to get great deals on Craftsman tools. Also today, I'm going to take Mike Herman a little bit out of his element. We're going to go down and look at my test vehicle this week. A brand new Nissan 370 Nismo Z. Rev match technology in the transmission, big high horsepower and a high revving V6. I don't know if Mike's going to like it. I know I did. And if you get a chance, make sure again to go to inthegaragewithdennis.com. But for now, it's time to get started. Let's get it going. All right, everybody, I've got him on the couch. Mike Herman, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing real good.
Busy? How's the shop doing?
Super busy.
Now, the Lincoln motors, they're hot.
Yeah, V12s, I'm doing a lot of them right now.
You went from being the guy who was the flathead master to, you branched out on that. But before we get into any of that, man, I love telling the story. You got $1,500 in your pocket. You got a pink slip from your unemployment check or however that worked.
I quit. I didn't get fired.
Okay, you quit, but you were unemployed. And Dad says build flatheads. Did you ever think it was going to turn into what you're doing now?
No. You never see it, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things too is actually, you went to school to run a business, so you do got that going for you.
Yeah. A degree of management and marketing helps. Definitely helps.
Doesn't make you have bad decisions. I think people need to know a little bit about the background. How you kind of, Barney Navarro and how that started. Buying parts from them, because that's a name that you now really do kind of hold the title of curator almost to so much history.
Yeah. It just all fell into place. I was running my business and building motors, and I'd buy a lot of parts from them. Go down there and talk to them for an hour each time, and run back and box up that part and mark it up for $20. I thought I was doing good. And then they just wrote me a letter one day. He was getting older, and they said, "We want you to buy the company." I just told my wife, we're still living in an apartment.
That must have been a little bit of an awkward conversation.
It was quick. It was easy. It was all my savings.
No more Babe Ruth baseball cards. Yeah. That could have been. Well, let's think. The Babe Ruth baseball card. How much would it be worth now? I think you made the right choice.
With the housing market, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what do we got in between us right here?
This is a Navarro 2-deuce manifold with a brand new Stromberg 97s from England, and it's a super nice setup because the generator fits in the stock location.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sometimes can be a bother with these things.
This just bolts right on. You don't have to mess with any water hoses or anything like that, and it's a built-in horsepower.
One of the things that I've always wanted to do, and you've given me, all I got to do is fill in the date, is come to H&H Flatheads, and you said you'd actually let me stick around the shop for a week and build a flathead with you. And I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. I love free labor. I've never turned down free labor.
Well, you don't know what the
even unskilled labor. I could still make you tear down motors.
I'm still going to have to, I'm sure I'll have to be moving the broom a little bit. But the carburetor, the Stromberg 97, all glorious 150 CFM, cubic feet per minute of air going through it, is the carburetor you put on classic hot rod motors.
Oh, yeah. It's an iconic carburetor that's been around forever. Since day one almost. And it's really the best carburetor you can put on one of these early motors.
Well, you know what? It's time for us to get a lesson, because of as much as I'm going to look forward to building that flathead with you, I want people to get a chance to be, really witness to you rebuilding one of these carburetors and what you do as a specialty at H&H Flatheads. All right, everybody. Now, this is where we're going to get a little bit of a lesson on what's going on. Now, let's see if I can get this right. 81, 48, 97, 97 new.
Yes.
I learned it. Look at that. Difference being cubic feet per minute of air that goes through them. The 97 is the largest or the smallest?
Medium.
Medium, okay.
You're close.
I was in there.
Yeah.
I don't know Strombergs that well. I mean, I know what they are, but I don't know them as well as you do. What would be the difference in what application you want to use them for? If you're using multiple, would you want to go smaller or larger?
Well, generally you want to use the 97s. When you're doing like a V860, a real small CFM motor, you use the 81s, and they did them a lot with midgets. They were 130 CFM. Now, if you want to go like blower motors and stuff like that, 48s were a larger CFM. The 97s were 150 CFM, where the 48s were like 172, 174 CFM.
Okay.
So it just depends on how you're driving. If you want to just soup up a stock motor, you could throw on a 48 and cheat.
Okay, I like that. And just so everybody knows, this is the cubic feet per minute of the air that flows through the carburetor. You think about what modern carburetors are like. They have 1,000 CFM dominators, so it's a lot of air. But we've got to go through a lesson really quick, and you do your thing. One of the things I want to get into now is you doing a rebuild on one of these carburetors, because I'm going to try to look, learn, and listen while you do it in hands-on.
So this is a standard Stromberg 97 that I've already disassembled and cleaned. Somewhat. I left the old patina on the outside because that's where you want to look. What you do here is you start with the base and you clean all the jets and all the holes, make sure everything works. You can put new throttle plates in, and you always check the shaft to make sure there's not a lot of wiggle, because then you could have air bleed out. And so this has all been checked prior, and from Stromberg in England, they make all the replacement parts, which makes life a whole lot easier. And so this is a deluxe gasket kit that comes with all the gaskets and some parts.
Now, do you see these? Is it really necessary to worry about things like the floats and everything in this, as far as the seal? I mean, obviously new gaskets.
Yeah.
Do you ever worry about these things getting? I'm not going to drop this one, but
back in the day, the floats used to stick, so people would hit these with a hammer. And this is all pot metal, so they bend.
That's
and people over torque them, over screw them down, and so they do bend. And so what I normally do is I sand the bowl and the lid to get it back flat.
Okay.
And this is obviously a real nice one that's already been like CAD plated from back in the day. You can still see it internally. And here we took out all the parts, the floats, the power valves and the jets and everything else, cleaned it really nice, and now we're gonna go back to assembling. I always start with the base because it's the easiest and it's quickest, and you have to paint it and let it dry and that stuff. This one was a real nice one to start with, so there isn't much to do except clean it, paint it, and put new idle screws in that come in the kit. You never want to bottom them all the way out because it will groove the brass. So you get it close, and then I turn it out like 1.5 to start. That's the starting point. And so right now the base is kind of finished because everything was already good. Now with the center section, that's obviously the most important part because it controls everything. And I usually start on the bottom side. I put new jets in, tap all the holes, make sure everything fits.
Would you recommend going to a larger jet out of the gate, or if you're just going to rebuild it?
It depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
Like this one is a standard build, so I'm putting all new jets in at standard size.
What if you're doing a blower or something? You might want to pump it up a little
blowers,
bit.
you might want to pump it up with. If you're running like triple carbs on a flathead, you might want to jet it down.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
you got 3 carbs
Yeah.
versus 1. Yeah.
Because you're going from 150 CFM to 450.
I've always wondered about that, because you look at these multiple carb setups, whether it's something that's just kind of a traditional build like you do, or even that crazy six carb motor. I'm wondering if you're jetting those down as far
way
as
down.
Yeah, okay.
Way down, and you run progressive linkage, so where only one carb's working and the other 2 kick in.
Okay.
That's why it's all like spring loaded on the side. Well, this is a jet wrench. It's a must-have tool when you're doing 97s. They sell them at Stromberg 97.com. I sell them, and it's a real nice piece. It's a special tool only for flatheads. So here, I always work on the bottom side. This is a little check valve. All you do is make sure you could hear the ball moving. And it drops in right in there. And just make sure everything goes in nice and smooth, and you don't want to cross threads. Because you cross threads and you're going to the swap meet for another one.
Well, I've also noticed that you don't want to, obviously with brass fittings, you don't want to torque them down as hard as you can. It's not a contest to see how tight you can make everything.
And that's the thing with a lot of people with this pot metal, like people over torque, and that's the biggest issue with these. You think you're screwing these bolt plugs down real tight. In fact, you're blowing the gasket out, and then it's leaking. Now there's two different ones. The ones with the vent holes go on each side with jets, and the center one just goes with the check valve. And once again, it's just nice to have all brand new parts. I mean, you can reuse the old stuff, and I do a lot. I mean, you wire brush it, make it look real nice. But new is new.
Do you ever get people that want you to rebuild, say, an original car if you're doing something like a restoration, or something on a barn find that they want you to use those original parts?
Oh yeah. And if people have them, I'll rebuild them. It's no big deal. I mean, if you supply parts, that's fine. It saves you some money. But
your recommendation, buy the new.
New makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that's great. Now once I flip it over, I put in the power valve, which goes just straight down the chute. And this is a 65 thousandths power valve. And you just got to watch what you're doing and get it in there. And once it's in, that's it. It has a little gasket it comes with, so you make sure the gasket's in there. I've already cleaned these bowls out, so I know there's no debris down in there. I've blown it out with carb cleaner and air to make sure there's no issues. And now I just put in the idle jets, another nice new piece. Now with original ones, there's an easy way to check it. You just blow through them to make sure they're clear. But it's kind of gross when they're old and filled with 60-year-old gas. So $10 is well spent. Yeah.
Well, you can imagine if some old car like this, I mean, who knows what kind of fuel filter they're running. I mean, it's
fuel filters.
What was that again?
I didn't know they invented them then. And so now there's two ways of doing this. I always put in the fuel inlet first. Put it in loose. And then the float, the brass float. And these are brand new. So once you get this in, now you set the float. And see the float is low right now. You see how it's not. And all you do is bend this tab a little bit back. And you want the float to get a little bit below deck surface, I guess you would say. And that's where I've always had the best luck. Because obviously you want gas in there and you don't want it to overflow. And so you basically check. The center section is pretty much done now. I'm not replacing all the other circuits in here because they are clean.
Okay.
I've checked it before.
If we wanted them, I mean, we get more
there
kit.
are new parts for every piece in this, so it's not that it's necessary, but not on this one.
Okay.
Now with the lid, there's a couple more pieces. There's the accelerator pump lever, which once again is new, nice and new, and stainless, and the fulcrum screws. Now all this stuff is, I do it a little faster because I have to. This is what I'm paid to do.
Well, and you've built thousands of them.
Yeah, as fast as possible.
That's why we're having you do it, because this would be a four-hour show if I was.
And so this spring is a little tricky because you have to get that spring in the lid and get that screwed on. but you just start it because now the accelerator pump goes through that. So you got to put that through and now screw it down. Otherwise, you just fight. I mean, it's a back and forth fight of like what wants to go on first. And so now, Dennis, you can put your little cotter pin through that hole.
There we go.
That's not how you do it.
Oh,
forever,
jeez.
but no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, jeez. Thanks. What are friends for? Why wouldn't you turn the cotter pin both sides? What's wrong with the way I do it?
I'm just saying. No, that's fine. So with the accelerator pump, you want to just make sure you don't fold the red leather back when you shove it down the hole. And you just make sure it goes down and nothing hangs up.
Okay.
It makes it real nice when nothing hangs up. And here's a new screw kit.
Now, I'm sure that there's an infinite amount of choices beyond just the factory stuff to make them dressed up with the bolt kits.
Polished stainless.
Yeah.
And chrome fittings and stuff like that. I mean, all this stuff can be chrome. They actually make chrome carburetors, which are really nice also.
Now, after a rebuild of one of these carburetors, how long are these good for as far as use? I mean, is a matter of, is it something I'm going to have to do every 10 years, you think? Is it just a matter of maintenance or?
Strombergs were built to leak, so no, I'm just kidding. They last a long time. The new ones especially. The old ones, I mean, if you do them right, they'll last a couple years. I mean, It's gaskets and gas, so stuff needs to get fixed. And so this is, now the base is done and the body is done. Everything's screwed together, so now you just put the gasket down and slide it on, and 3 more screws. This is the Heritage line of Craftsman screwdrivers.
You
they're
like
already antiqued.
I would assume, and I think be safe in saying that you would say use a handheld screwdriver or handheld tools with doing this, in fear of hurting what you're.
There's no power tools used on Strombergs ever. You would just strip things because these are pot metal and very old. So here I am just putting the choke rod on, kicker assembly. And this controls the throttle and the choke. And here is the accelerator pump, one of the last pieces you put on. And this is just a ball end. And it's funny because these Strombergs, they say S and W on this. That's summer and winter.
Oh,
so
really?
You get a longer pump.
I've never known that.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. And see that lever, when you hit it, pushes the accelerator pump down, which squirts the gas in. And pretty much that's how you do it. There's also new spring kits available. Inline fuel fitting, T-fitting. So if you're running multiple carburation, 3 of them, you run 2 straights and 1, or 2 T's and 1 straight. So you can run 1 fuel line into all of them. Or there's just the banjo fitting or the straight hose fitting if you're running like 3 hoses into off a fuel block. And so all this stuff's available, and it's all very high quality and makes life a lot easier.
Well, if you want to, you can go to stromberg97.com and buy one of these. I would recommend going to H&H Flatheads and having you doing it.
Yeah,
and,
or I sell those also.
Well,
so
you can buy.
Well,
there you go. You can buy them from Mike. Hey, listen. Here's the deal. Thank you so much. This is something I really looked forward to doing, and now I look forward to taking you out of your element and going down and looking at a Nissan. Have you ever driven a Z car?
I've never been in a tuner.
In a tuner? Well, we're going to go fast and furious and see if he can get uncomfortable. All right, we're outside, and behind us is the 2013 Nismo 370Z by Nissan. The 2013 Nismo 370Z starts off with a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $43,020. Now, if you had to take 2 ups and 1 down on this vehicle, certainly you would be looking at the exterior styling. It is truly kind of almost cartoonish when you look at it. The thing about is also an upscale on this is the nimbleness, and certainly the track-tuned suspension would be fun on any given track day. Now, the down is if you have to live with the vehicle every day on the 405 in the LA area, might be a little bit rough for someone with back trouble or just doesn't want to have their kidneys shaken out of the back of their head. Now, if you want to look at fuel economy, 21 miles per gallon is the average, giving you an annual fuel cost of about $2,700. And that's going to conclude our review of the 2013 Nismo 370Z from Nissan. I've got a guy who builds professional grade flatheads for traditional hot rods, and I put him in the seats and took him for a little ride. What's your take on this thing?
It's a nice little car. I mean, it's fast, it's quick, but just not my style.
Not your style. Well, you know what? It's one of those things where everybody's got to like different things. You know what? We're going to let Mike go. Thank him for coming by. If you want to know more about what Mike's doing, go to H&HFlatheads.com. Check him out, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, and you build some of the cool stuff ever. So thank you so much, Mike, for coming by the show.